Welcome to my bold and beautiful Today's Show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Ridge's Italy heartbreak wants Brooke back, but it's too late. The bold and the beautiful reveal that Ridge Forrester may have some Italy heartbreak ahead of him. There's a good chance Ridge will want Brooke Logan back too late, so let's consider where this storyline is going. Brooke has been making reunion plea after reunion plea, but her attempts aren't doing any good at the moment. No matter how many times Brooke fights for Ridge and their future together, he's adamant about honoring his commitment to Taylor Hayes. However, most B&B viewers know Ridge awfully well by now. Taylor doesn't usually hold Ridge's attention for very long since the show's determined to make him a waffler. Deep down, part of Ridge will always want Brooke and feel drawn to their familiar connection. Destiny is a word that constantly gets tossed around when it comes to Brooke and Ridge, but they'll both have a reason to question it in the coming months. That's because Nick Marone is coming back to reignite his romance with Brooke and pave the way for more drama. Following Nick's return in June, he'll be included in the Italy location shoot episodes that'll air in July. Nick, Ridge, Brooke and Eric Forrester will be featured in some exciting scenes with Naples and Capri as the backdrop. By then, Ridge may decide he wants a future with Brooke after all. Eric could wind up thrilled and perhaps help Ridge as he chases after Brooke for another dramatic Italy reunion like the one they had in Rome. Of course, Ridge may realize he wants Brooke back too late if he finds her in Nick's arms. Nick and Brooke may get caught making out before this trip's over, so Ridge could return home broken-hearted. Taylor might become a consolation prize, so that could put a strain on her relationship with Ridge if she ultimately senses that. Nevertheless, Ridge may try to strengthen his commitment to Taylor even more once he realizes Brooke and Nick are getting back together. Taylor might become Ridge's fiancé if he uses an engagement ring to show he's all in, even if part of his heart still belongs to Brooke. That said, Ridge's jealous nature could become an issue and lead to big trouble in the end. The closer Nick and Brooke get, the more it's going to drive Ridge crazy. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Italy could serve as a major turning point in so many ways. Grace's update: Zin's pressure, Katie and Ridge bond. The bold and the beautiful spoilers are in for the week of May 19, 2025. Fans can expect Grace Buckingham to give Liam Spencer disappointing news. Zen Forrester Dominguez tries to convince Daphne Rose to launch a new line. Plus, Katie Logan tries to help Ridge Forrester. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Grace Buckingham's update. Next week, expect Grace to give Liam an update on his health. Unfortunately, it is teased that Grace's news will be disappointing. So it sounds like there won't be any specialists willing to take on Liam's case. And no news on clinical trials or experimental treatments either. In fact, Liam might find out he has much less time than he originally thought. Katie Logan and Ridge Forrester bond. Meanwhile, Steffi Forrester Finnegan will be determined to keep Liam's secret. It's true that Steffi told Hope Logan, but that's because she deserved to know the truth. Then, Steffi couldn't hide that something was wrong from her mother. So Taylor Hayes knows as well. Even though a handful of people already know, Steffi will urge everyone to keep quiet. Steffi will especially mean this for Taylor, who will be tempted to tell Ridge what's going on. Speaking of Ridge, he will have a chat with Katie. It is teased that Katie gives Ridge some solid advice regarding his romantic life. Zen Forrester Dominguez's pressure. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for next week reveal that Zen will team up with Electra Forrester and Will Spencer. The three employees will try to encourage Daphne Rose to launch a new line at Forrester Creations. Week of May 19, 2025. Also, Daphne will take advantage of an opening to Carter Walton's heart. Meanwhile, Steffi and Hope finally make peace as well as amends. When Hope tries to make things right with Carter Walton, she might be surprised to find him with Daphne. However, Hope will explain things to Carter. So, it sounds like the couple that reunites by Friday might be harder. Also, Taylor bickers with Brooke Logan about Ridge as well as the fashion show. About the events at the fashion show. Later, something happens that gets Brooke out of her pity party. Carter doesn't let a little work get in the way of love. The bold and the beautiful, as predicted, Carter used his bionic ears and lack of listening skills to jump to conclusions by taking an eavesdrop conversation out of context, and then acting on it. And by acting on it, he stormed into Forrester Creations and interrupted Brooke and Daphne's conversation. Now, little did he know that Brooke was warning Daphne that Logan women use place cards on their men, and she wasn't respecting the fact that Hope saw Carter first. But Carter, the COO whose responsibilities are next to none, took another personal day from work while at work. Carter's attention to his personal life is a major part of his day at the office, on any given day of the week, so it only made sense that he'd already spent time outside of Brooke's front door, and then returned only to grab Daphne and take her home? An odd choice, but Carter needed to deal with his feelers, and he needed a sympathetic ear. Surely Brooke would have been the better choice as she was actually championing his relationship with Hope, and she had a little bit of influence over her daughter. At the very least, she could have gotten some clarification as to what all of these people were doing at her house while she was at work talking about them instead of, you guessed it, working. Want more details? We got you. Soap Central has the best full B&B recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the as close as we can come to being a watching party without actually being a show, and the best part is if you agree or disagree. In the whirlwind world of the bold and the beautiful, where love is fleeting, loyalties are fluid, and the past always lingers like a perfume too stubborn to fade, the summer of 2025 promises a heartbreak arc of operatic proportions, centered around Ridge Forrester, a man perpetually torn between 2 great loves, and quite possibly too late to salvage the one that truly defined him. Ridge's Italy heartbreak storyline is poised to unravel with painful elegance, as destiny, that well-worn buzzword tethered to his decades-long relationship with Brooke Logan, begins to lose its luster. After years of circling back to one another, exchanging rings and regrets in equal measure, it appears the universe has finally spun in a different direction, and Ridge may find himself adrift without the anchor of Brooke's unwavering devotion. For months, Brooke has pleaded for a second, or perhaps 20th chance at rekindling their romance. Her reunion efforts have been nothing short of relentless, echoing a lifetime of past reconciliations that almost always ended in Ridge returning home to her arms. But this time things feel different. Ridge, for all his history of emotional fickleness and allegiance to the idea of commitment more than the actual practice of it, has remained steadfast to Taylor Hayes. The woman he's oscillated between for decades now finds herself in a rare position of stability, with Ridge consistently affirming his loyalty to her, and resisting the gravitational pull of Brooke's charm. But viewers know Ridge, and his pattern is clear. Taylor may hold his attention temporarily, but Brooke occupies his soul. Still, as the show barrels toward its scenic Italy shoot featuring Naples and Capri, there's a shift in the air. The impending return of Nick Marone, Brooke's charismatic ex, threatens to upset the delicate balance Ridge has established. Nick, set to re-enter Brooke's orbit just as she's vulnerable and longing for connection, could represent both a literal and symbolic departure from Ridge's cycle of romantic regression. Their chemistry, tinged with nostalgia and the fiery unpredictability that always made their relationship compelling, might rekindle more than just memories. While Ridge is busy convincing himself and Taylor that their connection is unshakable, Brooke may finally be moving on into Nick's arms. The visual of Ridge witnessing Brooke and Nick caught in an embrace among the Italian ruins or sun-drenched coastlines is poetic justice for a man who has too often expected women to wait for him, while he sorted through his indecisiveness. The heartbreak Ridge experiences won't just be about losing Brooke. It will be the realization that, for once, she didn't wait. She chose herself or someone else, and Ridge was left behind in the wake of his own hesitation. Of course, true to form, Ridge might attempt to reverse course the moment he senses Brooke slipping away. Italy, a land of epic romances and passionate declarations, could inspire him to mount one last grand gesture, perhaps with Eric Forrester encouraging him along the way. Eric, always partial to Ridge and Brooke's history, may see Nick's reappearance as a threat and subtly nudge Ridge to fight for his so-called destiny. But if Ridge waits too long, all he'll find are shadows of what might have been and the bitter taste of rejection. A dramatic confrontation could ensue, Ridge confronting Nick in a jealous fury, or Brooke laying bare her exhaustion from being someone's backup plan for decades. And in a poetic twist, Taylor might become the unwitting recipient of Ridge's rebound affections. She may accept his renewed commitment, even an engagement ring if it comes to that, but the specter of Brooke will loom large, an unspoken third presence in their relationship. Taylor, too wise to be fooled forever, might sense she's once again the safe choice, not the first one. Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, the drama escalates as other characters navigate their own emotional maelstrom. Grace Buckingham delivers crushing news to Liam Spencer: his condition, already grim, has worsened, and his time may be even shorter than previously thought. This revelation will cast a long shadow over the rest of the cast, particularly Steffi, who struggles to keep Liam's diagnosis a secret while dealing with her own emotional turmoil. Steffi's confessions to Hope and Taylor were understandable. After all, secrets of this magnitude are burdensome. But now she's on high alert, urging everyone to remain silent, especially Taylor, who may be tempted to tell Ridge in a moment of vulnerability or maternal concern. The secret looms like a ticking time bomb, and the longer it stays hidden, the more explosive its eventual reveal will be, particularly for Ridge, who's already on the verge of emotional implosion over Brooke. In an unexpected twist, Katie Logan becomes a surprising confidant for Ridge. As she offers him advice about his love life, there's a subtle suggestion that Katie might become more significant in Ridge's emotional landscape. Their bond, forged from mutual understanding and perhaps a shared fatigue of always being second best in love, might evolve into something more. Katie, often the voice of reason amidst the melodrama, could represent a new beginning for Ridge if he's willing to see past his Brooke-Taylor dichotomy. But even as Katie supports him, Ridge's mind remains ensnared in thoughts of Brooke, now tangled with Nick in a storybook setting that should have belonged to him. Simultaneously, the Forrester Creations crew faces their own set of complications. Zen Forrester Dominguez pressures Daphne Rose to spearhead a new fashion line, enlisting the help of Electra Forrester and Will Spencer. It's a business storyline that could easily spiral into romance or betrayal, especially considering Daphne's growing interest in Carter Walton. Carter, meanwhile, remains as impulsive as ever, letting emotions drive his decisions, especially when it comes to love. His recent outburst at Forrester Creations, prompted by a misunderstood conversation involving Brooke and Daphne, speaks volumes about his tendency to leap before looking. Miscommunication reigns supreme, and Carter's decision to whisk Daphne away, rather than clarify the situation, exemplifies the emotional messiness that defines this show. Brooke, for her part, was actually trying to help, advising Daphne to respect Hope's prior connection with Carter. But Carter, ears sharper than his judgment, heard only fragments and responded with characteristic dramatics. His behavior underscores the persistent theme in The Bold and the Beautiful. Love is rarely quiet, often irrational, and always complicated. Brooke, still reeling from her own emotional upheaval, finds herself entangled in other people's love lives while trying to mend her own. Her attempt to warn Daphne wasn't out of spite, but a maternal instinct to protect her daughter's interests, even if Hope had already moved on emotionally. And Carter, ever the tragic romantic, is again at the mercy of assumptions and missed signals, making decisions based on overheard snippets rather than heartfelt conversations. Amid all this, Hope and Steffi reach a surprising détente. Their rivalry, often fueled by shared men and shifting allegiances, finds a moment of peace. The reconciliation is tentative but genuine, built on mutual understanding and the looming presence of Liam's illness, which puts past grievances into perspective. Hope's attempt to reconnect with Carter adds another layer of complexity, especially if Daphne has already made her move. The potential for a love triangle here is high, and given Carter's tendency to chase clarity through chaos, it could be only a matter of time before another explosive confrontation unfolds. Meanwhile, Taylor and Brooke continue to clash not just over Ridge, but over the direction of Forrester Creations and their competing visions for the future. A fashion show becomes the battleground for their latest spat, with tempers flaring and egos bruised. But the real conflict lies deeper. Two women who have defined their identities in opposition to each other, struggling to redefine themselves outside of Ridge's gravitational pull. Brooke, in particular, finds herself at a crossroads. For so long, her narrative has been centered around Ridge, but now with Nick's return and Ridge's indecision, she begins to see the possibility of a different story, one not written in his handwriting. As the week of May 19th unfolds, every thread tightens toward an inevitable unraveling. Italy, with its romantic vistas and symbolic weight, becomes more than just a setting, it's a crucible for transformation. Ridge may arrive hoping to reclaim Brooke, only to find that the woman he once took for granted has found someone who sees her as more than just a component of a love triangle. And as Ridge watches Nick and Brooke rediscover each other, he may finally understand the cost of indecision. Back home, secrets simmer, alliances shift, and a new generation at Forrester Creations begins to carve out their own place in the legacy. Zen's ambition, Daphne's ambition, and Carter's volatility all intersect in a company where business and pleasure are rarely separate. Taylor, holding on to Ridge but feeling his heart drift elsewhere, must confront whether love that is half given is love worth keeping. By the end of the week, we may see couples formed, reformed, or shattered, secrets exposed with devastating consequences, and a Ridge Forrester who for once finds himself not at the center of the storm but on its outskirts, looking in, yearning, and maybe finally too late. The heartbreak in Italy won't just belong to Ridge. It will ripple through the lives of everyone tethered to his choices, past and present, and set the stage for a dramatic new chapter in a saga that has never truly resolved, only evolved. The heart of the bold and the beautiful has always pulsed with the question of what love means when loyalty is fractured, and the past refuses to die. This time that question finds its answer not in a promise, but in a goodbye, echoed across the Mediterranean winds, beneath the ruins of ancient passion, and written on the face of a man who once had everything but failed to hold on when it mattered most.